call to order the Stevensville Town Council meeting for Monday, June 28th, 2021. Ms. Bertha, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Devlin?
Here.
Councilmember Ludington?
Here.
Mayor Dewey?
Here. If you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open the floor for public comment on items not unlisted on tonight's agenda. If you please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and sign the sign-in sheet. We appreciate that. Any public comments on items not listed on tonight's agenda?
James B. Cruz, 316 9th Street, Stevensville, Montana. Couple of things. Anybody else is authorized. So just bring that forward.
Is there any other public comment for items not listed on tonight's agenda? All right, then we'll move on then. The next item the council has for business is the approval of biweekly claims. At a previous meeting, the town council approved that biweekly claims could be paid out of cycle because we did not anticipate having a meeting at the end of June. However, because we have a meeting, we've gone ahead and put forth a set of claims for you and gotten some things up there. So you have before you claims 16798 through 16851 with the addition of two claims that were sent to you earlier today. That's 16852 and 16853. For the record, council has a claim sheet that's been updated for their review. The two claims that have been added that are late coming claims but time sensitive are 16852 is to Ravalli Electric and the amount Ravalli Electric Co-op rather in the amount of $100 for a new power service at the airport. That service is expected to provide power to an electric gate that is part of our next airport project. The next claim is 16853 to Project 59870 in the amount of $25,000. That is the agreed upon contribution to the splash pad project that council appropriated in the Gene Thomas Parks Beautification Fund. Project 59870 has provided an invoice so that you could approve that check to go out to them for their project. Those are the only funds appropriated for that project, by the way. There's been a question as to whether $70,000 has been involved, and the only amount of money that the town is contributing is $25,000.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Devlin, seconded by Mr. Ludington to approve biweekly claims as are presented. Council discussion?
Claim number 16837, Dakota and Associates, CPLs, PPL, accounting, AFR services, $4,489. I got it on page 4 of 9.
Okay. Is there a specific question or you just want an overview of the claim?
Overview of the claim, I guess.
Sure. It's several invoices she submitted in one batch, covering the last 6 months of work that her and Robert did together on getting the books reconciled and prepared for the AFR and the financial statements ready. That AFR has been filed with the state, so we're in compliance in that regard. And Jennifer's provided a bulk of the information that we need to provide the auditors for that fiscal year's audit.
Do we have a timeline is we expected some sort of answer from the state on the end.
They've already called and said, thanks for sending it, you're in compliance.
That was it.
The next
No
day.
other statement from them about, they just wanted to see it.
They just wanted to make sure we submitted it through the online portal. So in fact, we uploaded it to the portal on a Thursday, I think a Thursday afternoon, and she called within an hour and was sending back another version of the PDF for us to utilize for the website. So it's submitted, they're happy, they're fine. We have a couple of weeks left to get the audit completed and over to them as well. It was a rather informal phone call. She's just said, hey, thanks for sending that over. You're all done. So, and then a couple of days later, we got the invoice with the late fee. Any further questions from council on the claims? Public comment on the claims? Mr. Michelson.
Bob Michelson, 222 Turner Street. Could you explain to me what the Motorola Solutions, 6 of them for $375, dating back into August of last year or so?
So that is for a subscription service. It's a Nova subscription. It's for the police department's records software. We're not sure why the invoices weren't previously paid, but they were in touch with the claims clerk and determined that several payments were delinquent. And so we've rectified that immediately, and that's part of this claims batch.
Okay, it's just kind of, that's quite a backlog.
It is, yeah, and it's sporadic. We went back into the accounting system and can't understand why they weren't paid.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know the number of this, Leanna wrote about, but $514 for tables, what was that for?
That was for additional tables for this room, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. A couple more of these rolling tables.
Still asking, along with Mr. Cruz, how you're gonna pay these, because there's nobody authorized to write checks. I'm very uncomfortable with just one person writing the check.
That's the situation we're in today.
No, it's part of the checks and balances, sir.
So without getting into too much further of a dialogue, because that's not necessarily what public comment is for, the claims are entered by a separate person and checks are written by a separate person. And all the checks are audited. And there's, when the auditors come through, they look at check numbers. They ensure that all the vendors that those checks went to are legitimate vendors. And if there's a gap in numbers of checks, they flag it. If there's a gap in numbers of claims, they flag it. And we have to provide an explanation as to why that happened. So there are checks and balances.
I have no problem with that explanation. I do have a problem with the fact that we've not seen any kind of reports in the last couple of years on what the auditors have found. So I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but the town is watching and we'll try and figure it out. Thank you.
Any further public comment on the claims? Mr. Cruz?
James Cruz, 316 9th Street, Stevensville. Because the town has a clerk and a finance officer, where a decision was made to split the clerk and the finance officer into 2 separate offices, the only people who can sign checks by the town ordinance, Stevensville Municipal Code 2126, are the finance officer and the mayor, or the council president acting instead of the mayor when the mayor is not present. Now, that's a town law, and I'll read that to you. The mayor may at his discretion and upon advice and consent of the council appoint a combination town clerk treasurer or appoint a town clerk and a town treasurer. The duties of the offices, regardless of whether the offices are combined or separate, shall be as follows: to receive, disperse, and serve as a custodian of public money and to pay money on the warrant of the mayor, countersigned by the clerk, in this case, the treasurer, drawn in accordance with law. So who is the second signer? This question was submitted to the town attorney today as well. Have not received the answer back, and it was submitted to both council members via email.
Any further public comment?
You didn't answer him?
I don't know why that's doing that. There's only one signer in the organization currently.
Trevor Motley, 318 9th Street. I guess my question is, since there's only 2 council members, there's not a quorum, how can you vote to approve town business?
Quorum is established by the number of people on the council, not the number of seats. We went through this with every other council vacancy we've experienced. Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and call for the vote on the claims.
I think he had a comment.
Mr. Groninger, comment, please.
Under 518 Third Street, Stevensville. This question is for you, Paul. You comfortable with this?
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
What's different from yesterday than it is to today? I'm saying yesterday, meaning when we were sitting in this monkey seat with you. Why is it different today of the allowance of an individual being able to write checks free willing? Not that I'm accusing him of doing so, so don't write that down in the wrong paper. The fact is it's a law. Mr. Cruz just stated the law. If I'd have done that, the lovely Ms. Howell would have had me all over the paper. And I say that out of assurance that she was doing a good job. Why is it different yesterday than it is today, Mr.?
Because part of the reason is because we have a software path that we didn't have then. That keeps track of all.
We're changing our laws in this town of Stevensville of an ordinance because we have software? Really? Yeah, no, what is it?
I don't know, what is it?
I'm asking, how are we here today allowing one individual without backup or checks and balances to sign a check or any checks without the secondary signature, which has always been required? Why is it different today?
It's not different.
How many signatures, sir, are going to be on that check?
There'll be one.
I think it is different today. We have one signature instead of 2. We have a city ordinance that is being ignored. I feel.
And also state law.
And also state law. So once again, here we go. And without a quorum, you shouldn't even be having this meeting.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and call for the vote on the claims. Ms. Barthop?
Councilmember Devlin. Aye. Councilmember Lenington.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. The council has in its packet as correspondence the resignation of Councilmember Dempsey Vick. You also, in a quasi way, you have public comment and correspondence before you. It's public comment on the items on tonight's agenda. So when they're incorporated into the minutes, we will reference those in those agenda items. Okay, you're on new business. Item A, discussion decision on the town council vacancy in Ward 2 created by the resignation of Patrick Sherd. Council has in its packet a single application for that seat from Ms. Sydney Allen, who is here this evening. From this standpoint, I'll defer to council as to how you'd like to work through the process of appointment from this point. just as a note of housekeeping, we are aware that the camera is down for the live stream, but we do have audio, so they can hear it, they just can't see us.
So I have already interviewed Ms. Allen. I chose some questions to ask her. If that's what you so choose, and not, I don't know if you went back and reviewed her interview to begin with.
Based on the fact that the application period had ended and she was the only applicant, I would make a motion that we fill the vacancy in Ward 2, created by the resignation of Patrick Short with Sydney Allen.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Ludington, seconded by Ms. Devlin to fill the vacancy in Ward 2 created by the resignation of Patrick Short with Sydney Allen. Further council discussion? Is there any public comment? Ms. Cook.
Kathy Cook, 435 Whitetail Way. This is not regarding this appointment. I'm just wondering why item 4 of your agenda was overlooked, approval of minutes. There are minutes in the agenda packet and you did not cover that.
I don't believe there's any.
I don't have any minutes in mind.
No.
It's on your packet and on
I
the
will,
website,
I will go look.
I put in my
and
own.
it's on your agenda.
Might be park board minutes. There's park board minutes on.
It is, but it's still on your agenda for approval.
So there are no minutes under the approval of minutes section. And I don't see any minutes in the packet I have online. Is there any public comment on filling the vacancy at hand? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Ms. Berthoud.
Councilmember Devlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Ludington.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. With council's indulgence, so that you can move on in your agenda with more people on your council, we can go ahead and swear Ms. Allen in at this time. Sydney, you ready? All right, come on forward. Step up and raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, Sydney Allen,
I, Sydney Allen,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and that I will discharge the duties of council member
and that I will discharge the duties of council member
of the town of Stevensville
of the town of Stevensville
with fidelity, so help me God.
with fidelity, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Come over here and sign, please. Oops. You'll sign here. And then you're welcome to take a seat next to Paul. That's for you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's fine. Do you? I guess we don't have an extra packet.
Do you have,
She has an agenda.
you have an, she just probably doesn't have the packet. Are you able to pull it up on your phone, Sydney?
That's what I got it going.
Perfect. Okay, we'll move on to new business item B then. Discussion decision on the town council vacancy. Excuse me? We called for public comment and the vote. You have town council vacancy in Ward 2 created by the resignation of Dempsey Vick.
I'm going to recuse myself from this and escort myself out. Will you please let me know when this is?
Sure, absolutely. Council has before it 2 applications, one from Susan Devlin and the other from Jim Cruz. Ms. Devlin being the mother of Ms. Devlin, Jamie, that's why she'll recuse herself from this conversation. We'll let her know when to come back. So council can direct on how they'd like to proceed.
Please not speak to me like that.
Let's try to be respectful, please. Council.
Not exactly sure how we want to proceed here, other than the fact that I don't believe we have a viable candidate for Mr. Vick's position. I will agree with Mr. Cruz in this instance that I don't think it would be appropriate for us to appoint Ms. Edmonds' mother for this position. And there isn't anything on the planet that would allow me to be able to appoint Mr. Cruz to a position on the town council. So I would make a motion that we again put out an application, ask for applications for candidates for Ward 2, and not appoint anyone this evening.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Ludington, second by Ms. Allen, to re-advertise the Ward 2 vacancy created by Mr. Vick and not make an appointment this evening. Does council want to delineate a time frame in terms of how long you'd like to take applications? Again, your council rules tell us to leave that open for 10 days following the notice. Do you want to repeat that, or is there another time frame you'd like to?
Based on the fact that we're about to enter into a holiday weekend, I think we probably ought to do it for at least 2 weeks.
Okay. All right, any further council discussion on that? Public comment?
May be wrong in this, but my name is James Cruz, by the way, 316 9th Street. But I think you only advertised for 8 days to begin with, which should have been 10 days. You have 30 days from the time of the vacancy to fill the position. Second off, I don't think council member appointee Allen is allowed to take her seat until after her oath of office had been placed on file with the clerk and recorder's office. And I find that Mr. Ludington's refusal to consider me for council to be highly inappropriate because he hasn't justified it in any way, shape, or form. Because if I do get up and say something, I'm usually pretty good at backing up what I say, just like I have tonight. And I find the actions of this council currently to be obscene. Y'all have a great evening.
Bob Michelson, 222 Turner Street.
Go ahead and push the button, turn that on, sir. Thank you.
Bob Michelson, 222 Turner Street. I think it's sad when you have a former mayor and a council member who's given his time and his effort to this town, whether he's a little loud and he doesn't fit into this, to your Miranda's purview. It's so sad, and we wonder why this town is going backwards. Thank you.
I would like to know personally, Mr. Ludington, what you have against Mr. Cruz, just for my own education. Are you afraid of him?
We're not going to engage in a Q&A with council.
No. He said that he didn't want Mr. Cruz on the council. I think that you're going to have some guts there to tell us why.
I don't believe that there's anything that Mr. Cruz has to offer other than obstruction. There's a lot of things that are going on in this town right now. Witness what's happening right now that need to be dealt with. I don't think that he has anything constructive to add to that. Based on the fact that of his past history and his past relationship with me, and the fact that he blatantly lied to me more than once, that I would consider him to be somebody that I would be able to trust.
But he came forward, he stepped up, and that is something to admire in anybody. Miss Allen, like you said, had no right to be put on the council tonight because she isn't legally sworn in. There's nothing in that statement that was wrong. The fact that you don't get along with Mr. Cruz is sad. Because according to Jamie, if we're all kind and we all love each other, then we can get along. And that has to be an effort on your part and on his to try and make this work. And it isn't working right now, when you refuse to even consider him for what he has stepped up to do. This isn't a fun position that you guys have, and we all sympathize with it. But there are rules and laws and codes and resolutions you must follow. And to just not consider somebody makes you look like you're a little lacking in compassion and a little lacking in caring for the town. Mr. Cruz knows the laws and codes and resolutions backwards and forward, and you don't.
Can I comment on my choice?
Give me a second to call for last public comment, and then we can allow the council to finalize. Is there any further public comment from the?
Vicki Motley, 318 9th Street. I agree that Sue should not be considered. I feel it would be a conflict of interest, but I think that you need to consider Jim. Yes, he does know a lot about the town. Yes, there are times when I know he pushes buttons, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it holds everybody accountable. And I think Jim would be a good fit for Ward 2, which is where I live. Thanks.
Jim Tadvick, 509 Mission Street. I think this position's only for 6 months, isn't it? Even less than 6 months. But we probably wouldn't be seated until August or July. So you got July, August, September, October, November, December, 6 months. Can't we get along for 6 months? And Jim is very knowledgeable. I don't agree with Jim on a lot of stuff. And I don't care for his approach at times, but he is knowledgeable. And that's what you guys need right now. Somebody with his knowledge and expertise. I was going to apply, but then I didn't want to get blasted on Facebook. So that's I'm being very honest. So, thank you.
It's really back there. I'm real now. Leslie Tadvick, 509 Mission Street. I've known Jim Cruz for a long time. I've known him to be knowledgeable. I am also in his ward, and I would request you put him on the council because I think his knowledge would be good. He knows the laws. He knows that some of the things in here are going not quite right. And I believe Jim could add a lot to this. And so I would suggest you as a council, you put him on, and it's a request from his ward. We would be voting for him. Thank you. And I hope that we find somebody else quickly. Are we getting a new person to come in the accounting department? Can anybody tell me that? Do we have any applications? Do we have anybody in mind?
We're outside of the agenda item.
Don't answer my question. Thank you.
I'm happy to answer it separately.
Yeah.
Any further public comment? Ms. Wander, you're welcome to step forward to the podium.
306th Street in Stevensville. I am also in Ward 2, Jim Cruz's ward. I appreciate Ludington's answer as to why he didn't vote for him. I agree with him. Ward 2 has voted against him before, and I think that he could be a problem. He is a bully. He's caused trouble within the town with the clerks and the other people. I agree that he should not be on the board. He's voiced his opinion, his reasons for things that we have done wrong. We've always done things wrong, but I'd like to see the city go on with people that are positive and courteous of other people. He has cost the town a lot of money, and I don't think he should be in that position.
Any further public comment? All right, is there any last minute comments from the council?
Yes, I would like to comment on why I supported Paul in his decision to seek further applications. When I'm looking at Jim Cruz's application, I am looking at an incomplete application. So while I'm incredibly impressed with Jim's application, I don't know how to get a hold of Gary in Glendale. I don't know how to get a hold of Thomas at APS or Craig in Stevensville. So I would like to see a complete application.
All right, if there's nothing further from council, then we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Motion on the floor is to re-advertise and not make an appointment this evening. Ms. Berthoud.
Councilmember Ludington.
Aye.
Councilmember Allen.
Aye.
Okay, we'll take a brief recess, give Ms. Devlin a chance to come back into the room. We're ready. Bye.
She's approaching the bench.
Sorry, we're in recess. We're re-advertising for 2 weeks. Well, all right, we'll reconvene Mondays before the council is new business item C, discussion decision on the investigation into legal fee claim. Council has a memo in their packet, or an email rather, from the city attorney regarding the facilitation of an investigation following the documents that you asked for in your last council meeting on the subject. With that, council can provide direction as to how they'd like to move forward.
I would make a motion that we engage the services of Isaac Cantor to do an investigation into this, in an independent investigation as suggested by the town attorney.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Ludington, second by Ms. Allen, to engage the services of Isaac Cantor to provide an independent investigation into the matter. Council discussion.
Is there belief that there was criminal intent with what happened in this claim?
No, but I think the public needs to make sure that we're clear that we're not going to just let this go on faith, that we should have somebody look into this and be able to, someone independent outside of the realm of the town, say that here's what happened, here's what they investigated, and here's what they found, and present that to the townspeople. I realize that it's $200 an hour, but I think it's worth it to the townspeople to know that based on the recent situation that we ran into with mayor's legal fees, that we need to make sure that everything was done properly and have someone outside of the town and the town attorney look at it and make sure that we can look ourselves in the face and say that we did what we thought was right.
Any further council discussion? Okay, public comment. Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Ms. Berthauer.
Councilmember Devlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Ludington.
Aye.
And Councilmember Allen.
All right, motion passes. Closed session regarding a records request from the bidder at Star regarding Turbancy versus Town of Stevensville. The reason that this item is on the agenda as a closed and executive session is because Ms. Turbancy still has a right to privacy that has not yet been waived. We'll discuss that issue specifically, but we need the council to weigh in on whether the settlement agreement that's been requested is whether what you're debating is whether or not the right of privacy outweighs the public's right to know. So that's the reason for executive closed session. We have the attorney on the lines. We'll go ahead and close the meeting and reopen in closed session.
Thank you. I gotta go. Let me know.
Go ahead and lock the door.
Well, but it's